Thank you for joining me in part 17 of our walk through the book of Jasher. As I tell you every time, some scholars do say that this is not the book of Jasher that is referenced in Joshua 10:13 or 2 Samuel 1:18. If that is true, although this translation claims to be faithfully translated from Hebrew to English, if it is true, that means we haven't found it yet, or the book did not survive. So in chapter 76 is where we're starting. Moses is still the king and he prospers, but remember that he was given a wife, but he did not approach her. She was the previous wife of King Kikianus who died. So she says, he's been ruling for 40 years. He hasn't approached me, and he does not serve the gods of Cush. So she says, let Menacruz reign. So he's the son of Kikianus, and it is her son as well. And so Moses is 66, so he's just going to go home to Midian. So Moses then helps the 7 daughters of Revel, and he helps them water Revel's flock. And he tells his story, but he's put in the prison house for 10 years. And Zipporah, who is Revel's daughter, she gives him bread and water. So Pharaoh is still enslaving the Israelites over the Egyptians. He gets leprosy. So he desires to be healed. So he asks the wise men and the sorcerers, and they say, if you take, this is so perverse, if you take the blood of little children and put it in the wounds, you will be healed. So they take the infant Israeli babies, 375 total. And so Pharaoh has leprosy for 10 years. Then he gets a tumor and a boil, and the Israelites are slacking now in their work. So the king is put on his horse, and his horse falls upon the king, and his flesh is torn off, and he breaks bones. So they bring him back to Egypt so that he could die, and he had 5 kids with his wife. So he needs to choose an heir, so he chooses Adikam, who is, they say, 1 cubit in height, which is actually 18 inches. And the king, his flesh is putrid, and so this goes on for 3 years before he dies. So we have King Adikam, who is, they say, exceedingly ugly. He has a beard that spans and reaches the soles of his feet, but remember, he's only 18 inches tall. And we're seeing again that they're deficient in their work, and so with the young children, so those will be taken from their moms. It's so vile, and put in the building instead of the bricks. It's just awful. And so then they're going to put mortar over the kids. And so labor is increased, and they are crying out to God. So Moses is still confined in the prison dungeon of Revel, and Zipporah, his daughter, has been sneaking food to him for 10 years. So Zipporah says, hey, what about this guy that's still in the house dungeon? And Revel sees him standing and praising God. He doesn't know that Zipporah has been sneaking him food. So Revel says, okay, you can come out. They shave his head. He eats some bread. And Moses gives him, Moses goes to pray in the garden of Revel. And he sees this sapphire stick in the garden. Written on it was the name of the Lord, of the God of hosts. And supposedly this is the stick that all the works of God were performed with after God created the heaven and the earth, the seas, the rivers, and created the fishes. And when God drove Adam and Eve out of the garden, he took the stick in his hand and went and tilled the garden from which Adam was taken, which is interesting because Adam's job was to keep the garden. And if Adam is gone, now how will that be done? The stick was given to Noah, passed down to Shem, Abraham, Isaac, etc., Jacob, and Joseph. And then after Joseph has died, the stick went to Revel. Revel sees Moses with it and gives him Zipporah, his wife. There is chapter 78, but we are not going to have time to get through that, so we will start chapter 78 the next time. Armor up, we ride at dawn. May God bless you as always. Have a great day.